Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Star Watch, which is a weekly astrological transit report for the week of Wednesday, September 21st. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're new, my name is Jane, just to quickly introduce myself. So this week we have a couple of notable transits, not huge, but notable nonetheless. So we're moving into Libra season. This is exciting, all right? I love when the sun changes signs because the tone of everything kinds of shifts. We have, the vernal equinox or the spring equinox happening down in the southern hemisphere. So this is a time when the light changes, right? In the northern hemisphere, we have the darkness sort of taking over the light, getting longer. And the sun, as he moves into Libra, though, he does move into his fall position, all right? So this is not necessarily the best transit for the sun. And as we can see over here in the listings, here's the symbol of the sun, and as it makes its way through the last degrees of Virgo, it's sitting at a -5. And then as we fast forward just a couple of days on the 23rd, when the sun moves into Libra, it goes up just only a little bit in score as a -3. And even as it continues on, and comes into that opposition with Jupiter on Monday, next Monday, the 26th, we can see that the sun falls to a -9. So the sun right now, technically the weakest planet in the entire zodiac. Well, we don't score the outer planets, but for all the, the main 7 planets is scoring the lowest. Now, what does this mean? What does it mean when the sun isn't strong, or what does it mean when the sun is scoring low? What it means is you're going to have to work a little bit harder to keep that sun energy truly shining and to stand firm in your self-expression. Now, the thing about the sun is it has a lot to do with like the self, right? It has a lot to do with your own self-expression and your own spirit's ambitions. It's a very unique and an individualized experience. But when it comes into Libra, this is where we have to start sharing, right? This is where we have to start integrating other people into our lives. And so the sun can struggle with that sometimes, and he has quite a journey as he makes his way through Scorpio and Sag and Capricorn and Aquarius, really learning those types of lessons. How do I, me as an individual, add value and bring warmth and bring light into this new relationship or this new situation in which I find myself that incorporates the needs of someone else? And we have to remember that the symbol of Libra is the only symbol of all the other zodiac signs that is an inanimate object, right? We have the Virgin, we have the lion, the crab or the lobster, we have the twins, the bull, the ram, the fish. I mean, everything is like either a human or an animal, except for Libra. Libra is made of like steel, right? The steel scales of justice. There is no like life in there. Now, I'm not saying this is for Libras, okay? This is not about you as a Libra and your personality. This is about the archetype. And when we have these scales of justice coming into balance, we have to work very hard to truly integrate. And it's not necessarily that Libra is about always being balanced. I think that's a little bit of a fallacy, right? It's not about being balanced. It's about coming into balance or things counterbalancing. And that process can be a little disruptive and it can be a little bit harsh. And we can have some feedback sometimes that kind of goes against the natural will of the sun. So while Libra season can be all about beauty and elegance and grace and justice and human rights and things being fair and working together and marriage, right? Libra is not necessarily the most romantic sign. I think Leo has way more romance than Libra. Libra is more where we go to make commitments, right? It's where we go to sign the paperwork and say, okay, we're doing this together. We're making this happen. We're building this. We're going to do X, Y, and Z together. This is my role. This is your role. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And, you know, that's really more the essence of Libra. And I know that, you know, oh, marriage and all, but like marriage is like a very serious agreement that we go into with people, right? So you have to kind of think about, especially with this new moon in Libra coming up here on, here, let me pull up the, well, I don't have the exact, but it's coming up here on the 25th. This is not exact, but it's close enough. Sun, it's actually happening at the 2nd degree of Libra, which of course is in opposition with Jupiter here over in Aries. Now, I did a whole big video called New Moon Magic about this particular new moon and why it is so potent and so powerful, and why of all the moons of the whole year, why this one should be the one that you kind of, you know, truly honor and do something with. So you can watch that if you want to. I don't want to go into all that here. But yes, this new moon in Libra is especially magical because it's a cardinal air sign, and there's a lot that can be manifested, you know, or technically manifestation, I always say it's not really about like the thing. It's about initiating ourselves into a process in order to become the person that can attain that thing. So when you do your new moon ceremony, if you choose to do one at all, really think about who you would like to become and think of it as a commitment or some kind of a contractual agreement to be able to show up for yourself and for other people, to be able to have that self-respect, because of course Libra is ruled by Venus. So self-respect and self-value within yourself and honoring that in other people as well. And really saying, well, how can I show up for myself and therefore other people for the sake of attaining this thing or becoming this person? Now, if you don't really know what it is that you want and you would prefer to utilize this new moon as like a healing moon, you certainly can do that as well. You know, I was thinking about kind of the way we store energy in our bodies and how new moons, they're not about release. That's like a full moon thing. But if we want to initiate ourselves into a process of healing, I think relationship wounds will absolutely be a big part of this, opening our hearts. And if you have any sexual trauma as well, this would be a good moon to really focus on, like, especially if you are like a female and you have, you know, a uterus and ovaries and all that, like, because Venus rules the ovaries. So, you know, or if you're having issues with children or childbearing, or if you had like a miscarriage or something like that and you're still going through that, this would be a really good moon to kind of bring that kind of stuff in. Just as kind of like an FYI, in case you were dealing with anything like that, or any kind of sexual trauma as well. Libra is not often thought of as a sexual sign or one of the signs of sex, but actually Venus is intrinsically linked with our sensuality and therefore our sexuality. I know we often in modern astrology go to like Scorpio and Leo and Mars, which that's a component. I think that's more like the conquest element to it, or the more libido quality, but the actual sensuality and the love making, that kind of thing, and the creativity of sex comes through with Venus. So that's an important notion just for some of you. So we do have that new moon happening in Libra. Again, that is in opposition with Jupiter. And time again, since this time last year, and I'm going to keep saying it until May of next year, this is a time where we really need to get bigger with our manifestations. We need to get bigger with the things that we are hoping to achieve and to attain in our lives. We have to get bigger with our dreams, bigger with our processes. And it's not to stress ourselves out, okay? I'm not trying to cause anxiety of like, oh my gosh, well, I'm not even where I want to be yet. It's not about like putting so much pressure, putting yourself under any kind of a pressure cooker. It's just to open yourself up to possibilities. It's to open yourself up to the magic and to the belief and to the faith of things, because you may be waning a little bit in faith, because I think Virgo season, it kind of has that effect, right? Because during Virgo season, like, we have to remember that after that summer solstice, right, at the beginning of Cancer season, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking Northern Hemisphere. I'm so sorry, Southern Hemisphere. It's just that most of astrology is rooted in Northern Hemisphere season, like seasonal connections. But as we hit that summer solstice at the end of June, that is the time, yes, we have the longest day, but the day actually starts to get shorter. The day is still longer than the night, but it does still start to get shorter, okay? So we do have kind of like a fall of the sun energy as we make our way through Virgo season, preparing for that autumnal equinox or the vernal equinox here at the beginning of Libra. So, right, we kind of felt that pressure during Virgo season. That's one of the reasons why there's a lot of urgency throughout Virgo season, because it's preparation. It's a time to prepare for when the sun starts to dunk under and the night starts to get longer. So we can feel a lot of that pressure. Now, the pressure can help us to be hyper focused sometimes, and that can be a good thing because we can be highly productive. But now we're kind of out of that, or we're moving out of that this week within the next couple of days. And Jupiter is here to be like, hey, don't worry, like, it's all good. Keep your head up. Now, the sun and well, the moon obviously, but the sun is going to be making its way over the next couple of weeks into this opposition with Chiron as well. So that can bring out a lot of insecurity. And when the sun is very weak, it can be like, there can be a lot of doubt, and some people may retract their initial intention, right? So they get all hyped up and all excited, and then a week and a half later, or 2 weeks later, as the sun comes into this opposition, they're like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have put myself out there. Maybe I should have, played it safe. Maybe I should have taken that risk. And there is that temptation to kind of go back. So Jupiter is here to say, nope, you have to keep going. You are in an expansive period of time. And especially throughout Libra season. Now, you guys know, on the very first ones of these videos, I told you the way I set up this chart was to put the sun directly on the ascendant. So we remember, like, yes, we are in Libra season. So as the Libra season chart, right, we have Mars in the 9th house here. So 9th house Mars, according to like the sunrise chart, okay, this is highly expansive. Mars is wanting, yes, he's preparing for a retrograde, but he's not there yet. He's not officially doing a retrograde until October 30th, but he's going slow. Like, if I pull up the sheets here, look, here's Mars, slow. It even says it, slow. Okay, so the only planet that is moving fast is Venus right now. Everything else is going slow or in retrograde, okay? Obviously, the sun and moon, they'll speed up a little bit in the next couple of days, but right now, Mars is starting his decline, okay? He's not traveling nearly as fast as he was throughout most of Virgo season. So we know Virgo season was like go, 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 go. It was go time, but now it's a little bit more paced, and you'll see as I'm preparing the October readings, that's the word that's really coming out to play. That's the theme for October, is you are being paced right now. And as much as you would like to keep that Virgo energy going or not, depending on how you handled it, either way, you're still growing. It's just more slow and deliberate and intentional. Okay? So this moon is a beautiful moon. It's highly expansive. Jupiter is offering a lot here. So please take advantage of that, even if all you do is just do a little meditation. That's fine, right? But honor it. I think this is one of the best new moons. We also have Mercury retrograde, right? If I go back to today, here we have Mercury retrograde, and he re-enters into Virgo on the 23rd. So this Mercury, now he's in rulership, now he's super strong, even though he's going retrograde. Here he is at a +10. So there could still be some weird things going on with commerce. Remember, Venus, which is right here at 23 degrees of Virgo, Venus is a planet of money and relationships. And Mercury is a planet of commerce and communication. So when we put these things together, if you're dealing with money, there could be issues with transactions, and there could be issues with shipping and that kind of thing. In relationships, there could still be some communication breakdowns, not to mention that there is this Neptunian influence here as well, happening in opposition. And that Neptunian influence can get everything all weird. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if something weird happened. Not huge, though. Probably minuscule. It's Virgo. It's not like this massive thing usually happening. It's probably just some weird things throughout the day-to-day. You may feel like the energy is just a little bit strange. And again, as the sun makes its way into Libra, it is trying to find an established balance. So miscommunication or a misinterpretation or a misrepresentation might be might be very possible, okay? So don't be too shocked about that. That will be minimal, you know, not a huge deal. Just something that you'll have to contend with, and then you move on. Now, I do want to kind of mention this like cluster that we're getting. Like if I go to like next Tuesday, you can kind of start to see this Venus-Sun conjunction really starting to happen. Now, Venus does not enter into Libra until the 29th, so that will be a discussion for next week. But you can see the gap between Venus and the Sun slowly closing. Now, last week when I did the Star Watch episode, they were exactly 10 degrees apart, right? So now it's slowly shrinking, and they'll come together all through Libra season. And near the end, let me just fast forward day to day, and you can just keep your eyes on Venus and the Sun. There they are, 6 degrees apart, 5. You can kind of see Venus getting closer and closer and closer. And then just as they enter into Scorpio, boom, they come conjunct the same day that Saturn goes direct. That's October 23rd, so a month from now. But the reason why I'm pointing it out is because the Sun and Venus are together the whole month. All right, so this is a time to get your values in order. Okay, so when we're talking about things coming into balance, like I really mean it. It's not just a 1 week type of thing. Okay, and like, no, it's like the whole 30 days. And you'll notice things kind of coming in and out of adjustment, and things trying to counterbalance. And you'll notice people trying to either accommodate or compensate or overcompensate for things as well. Not to mention that Mars is here. Okay, now he's sitting at 19 degrees. Okay, that's next Wednesday. I didn't go back far enough. So here's the deal with Mars, okay? Remember, he's moving slow. He's officially in the slow category. Between now, well, hold on, let me get back to the right day if I can do it properly. Okay, so Mars is sitting at 16 degrees as of Wednesday, the 21st. He is going retrograde at 25 degrees, so only 9 degrees away. And he's not going retrograde until October 30th. So between now and October 30th, like a month and a week away, okay, he only moves 9 degrees. It's really slow, and he's just going to continue to slow down. Now, what this is going to do, it's going to afford us the opportunity to make deliberate and strategic action. Now, right now, he is sitting in the Venusian decan. Okay, this is actually the Libra decan here. So he's kind of accentuating that Libran energy. And here in the US, we also have, you know, a midterm election coming up. So I think it's going to be a really weird, really weird election. It's going to be one of those like everyone fighting for human rights kind of thing. And, you know, we're already kind of seeing that with the Martha's Vineyard fiasco thing. Both sides just kind of going crazy. And I think we're going to see a lot more in the human rights department coming out because of that, starting with that. And because of the election, you know, it's like, who cares the most about the people, you know, or whatever. It's going to be like this whole thing. But there may be an interesting October surprise as Mars makes its way in through the Uranian decan of Gemini as well. So just, you can expect the, I mean, that's to, obviously your October surprise. We're going to definitely have something like that, but it's just going to get weirder from here, guys. Like the election in the United States in 2024, it's going to be crazy. I am like probably just going to hide in my hole and not paying attention to anything, because I don't know how it's going to be so like unbelievable. These like people trying to run the world, and they're just like insane, right? Both sides, every side, all the sides, all the people. But we're starting to see that thing of like coming into adjustment and fairness and human rights and equality and working together and working hard to integrate. And with Mars in Gemini, it may be difficult to integrate because how we think is very independent. Mars is a leader. He wants to be like in his direction, go his way. He doesn't want to change his mind. He just wants to like make up his mind and go. But Venusian ruled Libra, and him being in the Venusian decan and him preparing for a retrograde, he has to stop to consider other people. He has to stop to consider the consequences. He has to stop to consider whether or not this particular action actually will beget the results that will get him closer to his goal in the fastest way possible. So there is a lot of calculation. There is a lot of strategy. Libra, there is a lot of planning with Libra. All right. We don't just leave like that day-to-day stuff after we go through Virgo season. No, now we get to like really truly live out the plan in Libra in Scorpio season. Libra can be just as detail oriented as Virgo. Honestly, it can be. It can be just as detail oriented. It can be just as meticulous and particular about things. And it does have this reputation for being a little bit procrastinating. But the reason for that is because it kind of enjoys that pressure for the hyper-focused, you know, because it's like, well, if I procrastinate, then I have to do it, and then I can get it done really fast. I think maybe some of you will procrastinate with Mars coming into a retrograde, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's like waiting till the last minute to be sure, waiting to the last minute to make sure it makes sense, to make sure it is the best, that kind of thing. I think all of that is on the table for us, okay? We also have, you know, Saturn, of course, you know, retrograde, Pluto, of course, retrograde. But remember, Pluto is preparing to go direct as well on October 8th. Again, a discussion for the next couple of weeks, but just heads up, FYI. And as the sun makes its way through Libra, it's going to come into a square with Pluto as well later on. But Pluto going direct, I'm going to make a video about this throughout October. The transition of both Pluto and Saturn together, both moving, and how Saturn through Pisces is going to support the transition of Pluto into Aquarius. But this is going to be like, once Pluto turns around on October 8th, he's kind of on his last leg into Aquarius. Now, mind you, he'll dip back into Capricorn through 23 and then come back into Aquarius in 24. But this is really like his last full go, where he's full on direct all the way through the rest of Capricorn for the first time. And so a lot of things are going to be closing out over the next 6 months. That's why this new moon is so even that much more powerful. It's even that much more potent, because it is kind of getting you ready for the expansion with that Jupiterian influence, for that expansion that is going to be needed after Pluto transitions into Aquarius. Because now you're in a whole new chapter. So when you open a whole new chapter, you have to expand into it. So we're kind of preparing for that now. All right. The planets do not operate according to our like day-to-day time frame, right? They like to operate in advance. They prepare us for things. And if we're aware of it, we can be prepared. So allow ourselves to be prepared. Mercury retrograde also helping us to do any last minute cleanup, any last minute scheduling. Guys, go to the dentist, go to the doctors, get the budgets together, do the cleaning that you need to do, get to the office, answer out those old emails, like whatever is like clogging up the funnel. You gotta get that funnel unclogged, because as we make our way into eclipse season, you're gonna be really, really, really happy that you took care of all that stuff. Libra season is also a good time to take care of things before Mars goes retrograde. I mean, you can still live your life when Mars goes retrograde. Obviously, it happens every 2 years. It's not like this most disruptive thing in the world, but you know, it's good to kind of get those things out of the way, so you can kind of focus on the future. You can focus on where you're going, and you'll have a solid foundation for that. Okay? It was kind of an interesting week, a few little things. And that's pretty much it. All right. Thank you guys so much. You know I love and adore you. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.